Hello, dear ones in Christ. This is Cheri. I have a few things to talk about today. Haven't been on in a while. We just had a big move. We moved to a different state, although it's only about 30 minutes away from where we used to live. But it's a new state. It's new people, a new home. The way of life here is so much simpler and easier and so much more laid back than it was in the city. And although we've had our share of problems, the house that we bought sat empty for 3 years, and so it had its problems to begin with. And we moved in the rain. It's rained since we've been here, and we've been here a week and 4 days. And one day, Easter, it snowed and sleeted. So we've had our share of problems, and we still don't have our furniture here. We've just moved boxes from our old home and had an estate sale, and that was just over with Sunday. So we have been so packed busy. I haven't had a chance to even think about anything other than the moving. But I've been really receiving some revelation lately that I wanted to hop on here and talk to you all about. And I don't even really know where to start without sounding a bit crazy. I think I'm just gonna start from the beginning. Our origins. We are spiritual beings. We are eternal beings. And we existed before we were ever in the flesh, in this realm that we call Earth. We fell from the grace of God in the spirit realm where we were before our life here on Earth. And we fell, and there were many of us that fell from the grace of God, or I'll call it the Great Spirit. From the grace of the Great Spirit. I don't know what we did, but I don't think it was anything we did, but I think well, I guess it was something that we did. I'm not sure what it was, but there was a great fall. And you could call us the fallen angels. And there was a majority of us that repented for our fall. And Great Spirit being love, benevolence, and grace forgiving, of course, forgave us for our sin. And I like to define sin as an absence of love. So for our sin, which was an absence of love, an act of non-loving. And in his forgiveness, in the forgiveness that we received, we agreed to come to this physical realm. We had to live out existence here under the law of karma. For lack of a better word, I'll use karma. You could say cause and effect, reaping and sowing. But anyway, I'll call it karma or reaping and sowing. And that is the law here in this physical realm. And it's not necessarily a bad thing. It teaches, it doesn't teach us, but it helps our soul to evolve back to the Great Spirit. And we have a purpose here in this physical realm. And it may take us many lifetimes to fulfill that purpose. And we do have silent helpers along our side, helping us along the way. They call them angels, which is what we were, but they're our brothers. And they help us silently along our way to find our purpose. Because in this physical realm, we're dealing with the karma that's upon us for our fall to begin with. And we have to live out that karma, not to mention karma that we've collected along the way in our lifetimes of trying to fulfill this purpose, that we get sidetracked and lost from that purpose. And our purpose is always love. But our individual purpose is bringing that love in some way to someone or some group of people or in a situation. And when that love is fulfilled, then our soul has evolved into greater love and light. And so then we're no longer then under the law of karma or the law of reaping and sowing, but we all are under the law of grace, which we are under now. We're always under the law of grace because God gave us grace. That's why we're here. But we live under the law of love. Now I know, there are those of fallen beings that were not repentant as we are. If we're living in this realm of earth that we call earth, then we have repented of our sin or our absence of love act that caused us to fall from the grace of God. If we are living in this realm we call earth, then we have repented and we are living out that judgment upon us, or karma, okay? And it's not judgment that's going to send us to a place called hell, because we who are here in this earth have repented and have been given the Christ within us. See? Now, our brothers who fell along with us, who have not repented, they do not want to live, they're fearful of living under karma and being in the physical realm. So what they do is they try to get, let's see, well, how could I say it? They try to harvest us to receive this Christ that we have, they want, without having to live out the karma and come here in this world to receive it. Because that's what you do to receive the Christ. You come to this world, this realm, and of forgiveness is what this realm is. And they have yet to find a way to get it from us. Okay? So early on in existence, when we first started coming here, we were still spiritual beings. We weren't fully physical, but we did have flesh. But it wasn't the kind of flesh we have now, not this such material, dense flesh that we have now. And these beings who fell with us, who were unrepentant, okay, did something in our DNA. And I like to call it, in the Bible, in Genesis 6, it speaks of Nephilim, which are offsprings of the sons of God mating with men. Well, the sons of God are not the angels in heaven, but they're our brothers who fell with us, who were unrepentant, okay, and don't want to come to the earth realm to live out karma, to receive the Christ. So they put, by, I say mating, okay, but, and it may have been what they did, the mating with the humankind, but I don't think it's really mating. They did something with our DNA, that put the Christ in us to sleep. The soul within us, the soul, is that fractal of light that comes from the Great Spirit. It's the Christ. And it was put to sleep somehow. I don't know how they did it. And overtaken by this implant that they gave us called the ego. The ego tells us we're all separate and that we're all different from one another. And that person is different from us. And they're an outcast because they're different. The ego sees the color of skin, which causes hatred, violence, racial tension. The ego tells us we are greater than others. All of this is a lie. The ego lies to us. But this is what they've implanted in us. So that we're not as powerful against them. See, they think we're against them. We're not, but we're not as powerful. When we can listen to the ego instead of the soul. The soul's asleep. Christ in us is asleep. So Jesus, okay, incarnated here for the sole purpose, for the greater purpose of being a vessel for the Christ, the awakened Christ within us, within him. And that very Christ awakened everyone else around him. And the more people that were awakening, they were killing this ego, okay? They were smashing that implant within them called the ego that was implanted in us by these beings, okay? By killing the ego, the soul can live. It can awaken. It can be in control and live within us again. The soul, that fractal of light that comes from God, which is the Christ. So Jesus became the Christ, for that was his greater purpose, so that we could also become the Christ again, because we all once were. And so these fallen ones, these unrepentant fallen ones, they're always trying to prey upon those of us here who are living out the karma of the absence of love that we had. But we're under the law of grace because we've been forgiven. We've been given the seed of Christ within us. When we come here, we're given that Christ in us. It's put inside of us. It is the seal of God. Seals us. We are his children. People have it so wrong in religion. They think that we are sinners here. We were sinners before we came here. There was no love in us until we repented of our sin. That sent us here to live under karma. But yet we were under grace. But we need the Christ in order to help our souls evolve back to the greater love and light that we are. And so Jesus came with a greatest purpose of showing us the Christ within us and awakening that light, that Christ within us. And the veil was torn. It's really amazing when I put these revelations to the things that I read, the words of Jesus, the things that I read, his words that are in the Gospels. And I mean canonized Gospels and non-canonized Gospels, like the Gospel of Thomas. And it all makes so much sense. The demons that Jesus cast out, it was the ego. The ego is what keeps us sick. It keeps us in bondage. It keeps our soul. It deadens the soul. It can't kill it, but it deadens it. Well, I mean, it did. It killed the soul. The ego kills the soul. And when Jesus conquered death, it wasn't that he conquered our physical death. He conquered the soul death that we had. Oh my goodness. He conquered death. He conquered the death of the soul and awakened it again. And he put the ego to death. So by Christ incarnating in Jesus, who lived here perfectly in love and light of the Great Spirit. He was absent of sin, which is an absence of love. He was nothing but love, filled with the Christ, just as we were before this implant of the ego came into being. And it awakened us again, the Christ within us. It takes Christ to awaken Christ. It took the Christ within Jesus to awaken the Christ within Peter and Simeon and Matthew and all of the disciples and all who he spoke with. It enlightened them. It caused their souls to jump. And when they put the ego to death, then they lived by the Spirit of Christ that awakened their soul. And the soul is the fractal of light that comes from God, that makes us who we are. It's really amazing. And I know it sounds a little crazy. I mean, I know it does. But it makes complete and total sense. These revelations that I've been given. You know, I've had dreams all my life. And it's like the same dream, but in different settings. That I'm being hunted by vampires. And everywhere I go, there's nowhere to hide. Okay? And now I've come to know that this dream is telling of these beings who possess us by the ego, the implant that they put into us. And they cause things like sexual perversion, alcohol, drug abuse, things that will deaden us. They try everything to put us to sleep, put the soul to sleep, which is who we really are. We are eternal. We are the soul. And when it says idolaters and all these people, you know, all these different types of people will not enter the kingdom. Well, it's true. I mean, you can only enter the kingdom when you are awakened to the Christ. You put your ego to death, but it doesn't mean you're not under grace. God loves you, and you are under grace, which means we are saved. What does saved mean? It doesn't mean what we think. We're not saved from hell. There is no hell. But we're saved. Our soul is when we're in this realm, our soul evolves back to the love and light of the Great Spirit of God. So we are on a ladder on our way back. And it may take us many lifetimes to figure it all out. But it will happen. We are saved. Now, those powers or spirits that are fallen angels who have not repented, who are fearful of coming to this realm, because life is hard here. And you have to live out the karma that you bring upon yourself. And you may be here many, many, many lifetimes. But they're fearful of this. So they try every way to figure out how to get the Christ. Because those who have the Christ are forgiven. They're sealed as being children of the Great Spirit. This is what they want. And there's no way for them to get it. And they don't realize that no matter how hard they try to deaden the soul in us, we are still saved here. We are still under the law of grace. All we had to do was repent. And if we're here, we've repented. I think I'm going to end at that. I know I'm going to have a lot of comments that probably aren't too nice. And that, I wish that everyone would be kind to one another. You don't have to agree with me. You don't have to believe what I say. I'm not asking you to. I'm just sharing with you things that have been revealed to me. And it can either appeal to your soul, your spirit, or it won't. It all depends on how deadened the Christ is in with you and how you receive revelation from others. I was in that state where I was deadened by religion. And, or my soul was. And, I outed people, not outed people, but what's the word? I shunned people who had different beliefs than I had. And that's a normal thing for people in religions or people in general. Somebody believes differently than you, well, you got to stay away from them. But we have to be open. Our hearts, our minds have to be open to what we receive from others in order for the Spirit in us, the Spirit of Christ, or in order for our souls to discern truth. In order to awaken the Christ, we have to be open in our minds and spirit, our minds and our hearts. And the Christ will lead us to truth. And it will reveal falsehoods as well. So we can disagree, that's fine. And this is all in my interpretation of the revelations given to me. As we know, none of us have the capacity, unless we are truly in the spirit and out of the body, to be able to receive revelation 100% correctly. We can only interpret it through, like our soul mind will give us these revelations, but our carnal mind, which is our brains, can only interpret them in the way that it can interpret them, that it understands. So, you have to take that into consideration when you listen to others as well. So, as long as you're listening to the Christ within, and you have a jump in your spirit, and you feel like, hey, that's truth there. There's some truth there. The Christ will, inside of you, will help you to discern. So I just want to say much love and peace to you all. Blessings to you all. Big hugs and kisses. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being my subscribers on my channel. I know I've been pretty dormant for a while, and I do apologize. I always seem like I always say that with every video because it's so long between. But I'm always happy to get on and to share with you all. It really, really makes my spirit happy to do that. However you receive it. All right. Enjoy your day. Enjoy your week. Love and blessings to you all. Bye-bye. Mwah.